Hi, my name's Neil and I am an alcoholic and I am also a Christian. Welcome to another presentation of the Eternal Sobriety series on belief systems and the important part that they play in the recovery program of folks in Alcoholics Anonymous. This is the third presentation and it provides insight on how God has designed us with the abilities to aid our progress in recovery and how to have peace and serenity in a flawed world. Yes, it is a well-known fact that the world is flawed and there are many pitfalls ahead of us as we progress through sobriety. But we're not left in the dark. Our Creator has designed us with a mind that is a wellspring of wonderful abilities. One is intellect. Now, our intellectual ability is twofold. First of all, we have a memory and we have a thinking mind. The memory houses our belief system. The thinking mind gives us the ability to interact with our environment according to our beliefs. Very important to understand the underlying beliefs we're going to discover, and if we haven't already, that it is our biggest problem. Now our memory, our thinker, and our physical abilities are essentially or pretty close to being a biological computer. We've probably all seen this before in one form or another. One way that our own system is similar to a computer is that we can store new information in our memory. We are doing that right now. Each word you are hearing and what you see is right now going into your memory. The depth and recall ability is proportional to the interest you have. If you're paying attention to something, you're going to probably be able to remember it more so than if you're not. And the actual storage capability that we have in our memory is limitless. Now, in addition, we can also recall information from our memory, process that data, and if necessary, replace the data in our memory. Now, a computer can do that also, but there is a major difference between a physical computer and us. We can do special things with our thinking ability. In other words, our processor, that computers cannot do in their processor. Now, the thinker, it's an amazing piece of work. We were designed with faculties that make us totally different from all the rest of God's living creatures. We can list these faculties as the ability to make decisions, the ability to reason before we make decisions, the ability to recall information as we need it to make decisions, the ability to visualize, to imagine, and using those faculties, the ability to create new things. Now, our decision-making process, that's what allows us to carry out free will. It's where choice actually becomes a reality. When we turn our life and our will over to the care of God in our program, it does not mean that we stop making choices. It simply means that we are trying to align our choices with the choice that God would want us to make. Now, so life is really abundant with choice. Everything we ever do, think, or say is a choice. We don't really understand that, but underlying everything we do is this choice-making process. This is the same for everything with the exception of involuntary actions. So we do have some barriers to seeing choice, or seeing at least right choices, good choices. For example, how about a lack of truth and knowledge in our belief system? This might be the most important thing if you ever understand it, is the fact that our beliefs are flawed. For example, how about your belief in this area? Anger. Anger can be everything from a little bit of being upset, irritated, discontented, all the way up to developing severe rage. There's a gambit of different levels of anger. Unfortunately for us as recovering alcoholics, we kind of understand that resentments is the number one offender to our sobriety, and it is built upon anger being relived. So we have to really get a good handle on this. Now, our faculty of reasoning, what that means is to simply draw conclusions from information and facts in our belief system, and also what we may physically be sensing outside of us in our environment. All that kind of forms the information which gives, and we have to reason out something. So all of that plays a role. And if we have the right information and we have truthful facts, we'll usually draw the right conclusion. We do have barriers, and they are major. One is the lack of truth in us, and the other is our own selfishness. Now, our recall ability, it draws from our experiences and the facts stored in our memory. We have to have that ability to recall, which we retrieve as we need it for our given situation. So without that recall, without the ability for that, we would be dead ducks. Can you imagine what it'd be like to be making decisions without having some experience to the type of decision we're going to make? Visualization and imagination kind of complementary functions, somewhat operate together. Visualization is sort of how we form a mental picture in our mind about someone or something, and imagination applies to the ability, the same visualization, but the ability to visualize believable pictures and ideas of things that have never happened. Some of us has some real vivid imaginations. Now, imagination does involve creativity, which really means to bring into existence something new and different. It may not be real, but it also, we can understand that that ability is really a healthy function to have, although it can create some wrongful desires. Now, our imagination also produces emotions. So these are usually upside down with reality. We're going to have to look at this one closely to make sure that our emotions are not making decisions for us. Now, emotions are strong feelings of any kind. Hate, fear, and anger are what we would call negative emotions, and love could be certainly a positive emotion. Now, emotions reflect the type of thoughts we're thinking. If we're thinking sad thoughts, we'll feel sad. If we are thinking happy thoughts, we will feel happy. This is a pretty important thing to understand, because if you want to change how you feel, all you really have to do is to change the things you are thinking about. Now, this is a reality for us that we have been designed to be able to do this. We may not do this and we just simply react, but you need to understand this because this is important as part of the right process in sobriety. Now, although we see emotions as being problematic at times, they are not the real problem. The real problem stems deep from within our belief system. It's the error in our beliefs that cause our bad behavior. Our behavior represents our attitude. It's what other people see when they look at us and how we're responding to whether we're responding favorably or unfavorably to an object, person, or a group of people, and so forth. How we are displaying that attitude is through our behavior. The world itself has a diversity of different attitudes that exist. Some people are pleasant to be around, other people are not. It has an awful lot to do with our behavior, and our behavior, of course, has to do with our thoughts, and underlying that is our beliefs, and we are affected drastically by not only society's attitudes, but also our parents. They have heavily influenced us. So by the time we come to the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous, we're for sure needing an overhaul. Now, attitudes, they develop over time through a process called conditioning. Many of our attitudes, they start out early in life as children, and they tend to persist or be influential throughout our life, although they do undergo modification. And the diversity of conditioning can be to many factors. The differences in races, the difference in nationality, differences in education, religion, culture, and mostly, very important, is our individual family environments. Conditioning is everywhere. It comes at us as both error and truth. And for us, the alcoholic addict, it translates as a major fundamental living problem. The full solution to a good recovery requires knowing the full problem. Keeping the alcohol out of our body only solves the physical addiction. We must also understand that our belief systems, our thoughts, and our feelings play a major role in our behavior. Our outward behavior is reflective of the principles grounded in our conditioning. Therefore, we must go deeper than the emotions and the thoughts and change the actual source of the problem, which is a lack of truth within our beliefs. This deficiency of truth results in incorrect principles in our belief system. Bad principles are the problem, and they are definitely within us. Now, fortunately, God did create us with the ability to think before we act. There's a lot of people that don't understand this, and we're hoping to put some light into all of this. It's sort of a big bad misbelief if you don't realize you can actually do this. So the thinker's job that we have is to reason out the proper action to take using the principles and facts from our memory, in addition to living in the day or living in the moment, so that all of our senses are operating properly with the actual truth. So if we have bad principles underlying in our deep down in our belief system, and we have bad facts, you know what's going to happen. We're going to have some bad results. So let's kind of examine a human model. Now let's see if we can put all of this together in something that's meaningful. On this diagram, you'll see on the left in the first column the components that we talked about earlier that we have down in our belief system, the things that make up our belief system or our memory. There's the experience we've had throughout our life, the knowledge that we've learned, the skills that we've developed. All of this basically helps establish the qualities we may have within us, the values that we think about or have some importance of, our morals, and all of this is, even down in that belief system, are the principles that we don't even know most of the time that are there, but they are. And then we have the idea of what our perceived needs are, not necessarily our real needs, but the needs that we think we have. And then there, of course, the character defects. All of these basically comprise things in our belief system that are going to drive us. They drive us by going into our thinker for interacting with what's going on outside of us or in the situation of what we're doing. And it's in our thinker where we make decisions. It's in our thinker where we reason out things. It's in our thinker where we realize we need to know more, so we'll go back and recall some more information back out of our memory. It's where we visualize and where our imagination lies, and it's also where the idea of creativity from us come. And then, of course, in that thinker is something called emotions. And whatever our thinking is going on in our thinker, it's going to create emotions that basically follow. The emotions are not reflective of any logic. They're reflective of what's coming out of our beliefs and into our thoughts. Now, that feeds forward out to our outside environment, where if we are needing to sit, we'll sit. If we're wanting to talk, we'll talk. If it's time to eat, we'll eat. And writing or reading or drinking or speaking, maybe screaming. Or the action could actually be the action of doing nothing. Now, that kind of hand in hand with the thinker and the actions can be sort of a little loop. Then there's the results of some action that we may take. What is the effect when we do make a choice to have an action of some sort? What's the effect of it? That effect can be contained totally to us, or it can extend to others. We can affect others wrongly as well as correctly. And then in addition to that, the action of others can also affect us, and this is what we would call reality feedback. Now, this is how it works. I mean, we're just sitting there operating all the time on stuff that's coming out of our belief system, and we're whatever else we may be focusing on from a physical standpoint, through our eyes, through our ears, through our touch, and so forth. And this is who we are. This is how we operate. So hopefully you can see that the problem lies not in the ability here to do all of this, but in the fact that our belief system might just need a little bit of help. Now, a common misconception, of course, is that, or a misunderstanding, is that we cannot do much about our stinking thinking. So we simply cease and stop thinking things out. And that's never been a real solution. Basically, we're just evading, finding the right action that we need to take in given situations. I'll give this a minute and you can read this. So we need to really recognize that the thinking process that we all have is not really the problem. Our problem is our own failure to recognize the fact that we do have error within us, and the failure to properly have self-control to control our own behavior. This is the major change that we have to move to in order to get full recovery. So how do we get this right? The answer partially lies in the proper use of our will. In other words, our choices. The will, we know that when we turn our life over to the care of God and we turn our will over, what we're not doing is stopping thinking, and we're not stopping acting or making choices. We are asking God to help us make the right choices, and we're going to pick up on this in our next video presentation. I encourage you to gift this book to yourself and to others who are wanting to know more about the biblical God. It's a fact that God understands and loves the alcoholic and desires for you to have a better understanding of Him. Be quick to explore the original source of the spiritual principles and their life-giving benefits that we find in the 12-step program. Eternal Sobriety operates as a non-profit. Both the Kindle version and the hardcore version is offered for purchase at the lowest price Amazon will allow. The Kindle version is only $2.99, and the reader is free for your phone, tablet, or computer from Amazon.